sketching hyperbola in the form of y equal k over x. Or if you rearrange it, you can have x equal k over y or x times y equal k. Note that it's just rearrangement of each other. So all of these forms will give you a hyperbola. So as I mentioned in the keynote, you can just follow these 3 steps to quickly sketch the hyperbola. So for example, first thing you should do is to draw the asymptotes. There's 2 asymptotes for any hyperbola in this form, which is the x and the y-axis. And then you can check the k value. So if k is positive, now have a look at this equation over here. When k is positive and if x is positive, then you will end up with y equal a positive number divided by a positive number, which is also a positive number. So your graph will fall in this first quadrant. And when x is negative, then y should be negative as well. In that sense, it means the graph should end up in the 3rd quadrant. So if k is positive, then you will have the hyperbola in this form. The other way around, if k is negative, then you know that your graph should look like this. Okay, and the last point is just to clearly label the 2 special points. So for example, in this graph over here, the special point will be here or over here. Note that they are reflection of each other through the origin. But you need to label clearly what is the coordinate of these 2 points or these 2 points over here if your hyperbola has these shapes. Okay, so let's go through a specific example. So for example, y equal 1 over x, very basic hyperbola. So let's follow the step. We will have the asymptotes to draw. The reason why we have asymptotes, just have a look at the equation. So in this equation, x is at the denominator, so x cannot be 0. So x can be positive, negative, any number, but cannot be 0. So you have this y-axis as the asymptote. Okay. Similarly, as I mentioned before, this equation can be rearranged as k, or in this case 1 over y, and then y will end up being in the denominator. This means y cannot be 0 as well. So y can be positive, negative, but cannot be 0. It means the x-axis will be the asymptote. Okay, so that's the reason why. Second step, we check what quadrant our hyperbola gonna fall on. So k here is 1. K is positive, so it will be in the 1st and 3rd quadrant. So we know that the shape of our hyperbola will look like this. Okay. 3rd point that we have to do is to clearly label the coordinate, and easy to look for it by looking at the constant k. So in this case it's 1. So why is it special? Because you can just look at it. So if this is 1 and you have 1 divided by 1, you will have a special number 1 as well. So if x is 1, then y, to work out y coordinate, you just substitute x equal 1 in here. You have 1 divided by 1, which is 1. So that's why I said it's a special point. You can easily work it out by looking at k number. So it means the coordinate here, it will be negative 1, negative 1. And you're done. Okay. Alright. Another example. Reminder, follow those 3 steps. Draw the asymptote, check the k value, and plot the 2 special points. So here, example 2, y equal 2 over x. So first thing to do, draw the asymptote. Okay, check. Second step, check k value. K value is 2, which is a positive number, so we know our hyperbola will look like this. last step, clearly the special points, clearly label the special point. So k is equal to 2, so if I have 2 divided by 2, then I'll have 1. So this special point over here, I'll label it as when x is equal to 2, y equal 1. Here, when x is equal to negative 2, y equal negative 1. So note that in this case, this scale in x and y axis are different. Okay, so for example, here is 2, mean here is 4, but on the y axis it will be 1, 2, so normal scale. And you're done. Okay. Alright, let's go through one more example. Again, reminder of those 3 steps. Draw the asymptote, check the k value if it's positive or negative, clearly label the 2 special points. So last example, y equal negative 3 over x. It means you can treat it as negative 3 over x. Same thing, okay? Same thing. Alright, so first thing to do, they have the same asymptotes as any other hyperbola in this form. So x and y axis. So clearly label your asymptotes, okay, with broken line. Now, because k is negative, then the hyperbola will be having this shape or these shapes. I mean, in this quadrant, second and the fourth quadrant. Next step is just to clearly label our 2 special points over here and here. Okay, so the points we're going to use is when x equals 3, because when you take 3 divided by 3, you have 1. So here, when x equals 3, negative 3 divided by 3 will give you negative 1. Okay, be careful with that. Over here, this is x equal negative 3. When x is negative 3, y is 1. And again, we have different scale on the x and the y axis. So here's 3, but here this is 1. Now I don't want to plot it there, so let's just leave that point there. Negative 3 and 1. Or the scale down here, you can say negative 1. And we're done.